What is going on, Cowboy Nation? Welcome back to Primetime Studios. Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Phil, and like always, my co-host, Gametime Bryan. But before I cut it over to Bryan, just wanted to wish you guys an early 4th of July, kind of a 4th of July theme. I didn't tell, of course, Bryan about the dress code or anything like that, but it just happened to be wearing white, so that's awesome. So I'll go ahead and introduce Gametime Bryan. Welcome. Happy early 4th of July. I can't hear you. Hello.
Sorry, man.
There we go.
I didn't mute the actual show, man. Sorry. So I was hearing you a little bit ahead of time. What's going on, man? Are we ready to rumble tonight or what? What's going on? I ruffled some feathers, dude. I
have to warn everybody that I have a nice storm going on outside, so you might get some internet stuff here or there, but we're gonna go ahead and push through anyway. So it kind of a reflection to our early days and our early streaming. Like, oh, can you guys wait? Hold on 1 second. Can you hear me now?
Got it.
Nailed it.
What's up, Eric Wallace? What's going on? Sugar Daddy's in town.
We got a lot of people in. You got Mike Aldana, Twiz. Yes, we got a lot of Eagle fans in here.
Angelica already throwing the shots at Twiz for being a mod.
Jack Meeker's in
That's
here,
hysterical.
giving Eagles crap earlier, and then of course, like you were saying, Eric Wallace, Crystal Caramel Corn is it here, Eric,
Elena Wolf,
and of course Angelica holding it down, like you were saying, giving people crap. You can't come in here tippy toeing, man. It's like hitting the hole with like a running back. You tippy toe in this thing, you're gonna get run over. So, but anyways, Bryan, happy early 4th of July. I know we're not going to be able to see.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Some nice.
Don't blow your hand off.
Yeah, I know. Like I saw
no
a little
JPP.
It's like I saw a thing, and it, sometimes you see these memes and stuff like that, and it showed JPP, and he was all like, "JPP wants to remind you this 4th of July to have a blast," and you're like, "Oh, that's."
Like, tacky but funny.
Yeah,
but
you're like, oh,
sorry, I can't help myself.
Loyal Cowboy, what's going on? How are we doing? But yeah, so any plans for 4th of July that you have? Do you have a tradition that you guys do, or?
Listen, we got people here that light fireworks off, and I live in a smaller residential neighborhood. They have no business lighting fireworks.
Sugar Daddy Williams.
I end up at like mortars in my pool, in my swimming pool. I got, it's crazy, but very festive around here. But no, I have no plans.
Glimmer Man.
My boys are all, a little older, so the whole firework thing is a nuisance to my animals, honestly. But I'm not one of those people that, oh, you shouldn't shoot them. Have fun, man. I have to drug my dogs up. I gave 2 of my dogs a pill already.
So your dogs enjoy the 4th of July as well, like all wasted and stuff. That's good, man. That's good. I know with mine don't associate anything to those noises, so they're just kind of looking at me like, hey, man, if he ain't freaking out, I'm not freaking out.
Let's rock, Dad.
So, anyways, as we're doing, I put a little theme. I was going to put a 4th of July theme, but I had to kind of go with the thumbnail of you broadcasting on Twitter, something I had already seen, but, just people jumping all over it, of course. If I was on the other side of that, I'd probably be running my mouth as well too.
Listen,
so
I understand, and I got my buddy. He just retired from the post office, Jack. He looks to be a real pain in my side when it comes to certain things regarding. He's a big, he's like, I just want to talk facts, but we're not allowed to bring up anything that was from a while back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not allowed to bring up anything that hadn't happened since 2018, I guess. Since they won their Super Bowl.
Well, I even saw on there
ridiculous, but
when I even saw it there, they were like, well, what about from the super salary cap era? And you're just like, look, man, Super Bowl one. That's where you're putting it. The Super Bowl era. Like. That's kind of what we're judging it out. If we're looking at the Jets. We're not looking at the Jets going, you know what, that Super Bowl III victory, man, I don't know. I was going to give you 0. No, they got a Super Bowl victory. So.
Listen, I understand that we need to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, Captain Taki. Whoa, that's a sighting I haven't seen in a while.
Captain Taki, where you been? Man, you're a mod. You're supposed to be here, man.
Angelic.
Let's go.
Yeah. Just fireworks, yeah. yeah, like put the fireworks down as it's lit up. Yeah, you got one of those. But yeah, like I saw it. There was definitely a lot of shots fired. Right now, I think that's what it is. I think the theme of this. Right before training camp, it's like we kind of like the free agency kind of slowed down, trades, like, you know, they had this whole list of free agents that are all these American all-stars, and I'm like, let's go ahead and just add another expansion team, you know?
Cowboys in the house. Oh, like oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know, you threw me off. I'm like, what?
Oh, sorry, that's right. You can't see him. Well, we can talk about it. I click on the three dots and I go to channel, report, remove, report, user and timeout, and hide user on this channel. So, did you do that by accident?
No, that's what I'm saying. If I did, I went into the places where I hid the hide them, and I just can't find them. So.
Yeah, I hit him and unhit him. You know, I don't know. You can't see him anyway.
But it says that it's he's saying that you just hit a user you've blocked. So somehow I blocked him. So that's why if you can try to figure out some way to unblock him.
I blocked him and then, or no, I didn't.
Well, no, you hit him.
I hit the user and then unhit him.
Yeah, so you need to unblock him because, again, like I can't see his name to unblock him. Well, unblock him.
I did.
Anyway, sorry, man. We're getting on the thing, especially of
No. I want to help out Ultra. He's always here, man. We got to help him out.
Yeah, I would like to broadcast that stuff.
What's up, Captain Taki? How you been, man? It's nice having you back.
But the theme that I was talking about is just that, with free agency kind of being over trades, you got this whole list of people, that are waiting till like there's injuries or some people are released or people don't, I do need a running back because the running back that I drafted is not as good as I thought he was in training camp. So let me go ahead and go get a Zeke or a Dalvin Cook or, a wide receiver, fill in the scenario with whatever position you want to do. I think Dallas, of course, the kicker position is what we need to kind of be getting on. But we're at that point where the roster is being filled at least enough to where we're feeling our teams, man. There's definitely a lot of heat, and I know you came out with this video earlier in the week about, maybe Eagle and Cowboy fans, we need to kind of watch it because, there are some other teams in our division that are getting better. To me, not division champ better, but, could be, of course, sneaking victories in there against us and kind of messing up our whole getting to the playoffs and positioning.
Right, exactly. This is the dog days. Like I said, you made a video yesterday. This is the dog days. It's gonna come down to us, the Eagles, and the Giants. The Giants are gonna be on our heels all week, but the Eagles by far are our biggest competition. Vegas isn't dumb. Vegas knows what they're doing. The same team hasn't won the division since what, Phil? 2004. So, we got our work cut out for us. The Eagles have a soft schedule to start out the season. I think they could get out on us early, especially with us running in. But it'll be something that we need to stay close. I think as the season goes on, we got that stretch around the holidays where we have those 3 home games in a row, and I think that's where we can make some headway. But yeah, man.
Glimmerman says,
what's ahead, man?
Glimmerman says, we are good at defensive end, but wouldn't mind another vet defensive tackle. Yeah, I definitely totally get that. I would be okay with replacing a guy like Gallimore, guy that you're really kind of just hoping that he gets back to where he was, and then you want him to exceed that because he wasn't anything like an all-star or anything. So you definitely want him to elevate his game, but he kind of needs to get back to where he was and stay available and healthy and kind of really help this rotation because you got some guys in here in the defensive tackle position. You got some guys that are moving into the position that are still kind of new, like Goldston. But, of course, you got Quentin Bohanna. That's a young guy as well that'll help, But of course, your core guys, of course, is Mozzie Hansen. What's his name? The other defensive tackle that helps our the run game.
Yeah.
Hankins.
Hank.
Yeah. And then you have, of course, Osa Digizua, and so I mean,
Digizua.
So I mean, I would like to be able to add to that and take away a guy like Gallimore. So I mean, I totally get that, and I wouldn't be against that.
But you know what? And you're saying that, and you're totally right in what you say. But you watch, Gallimore knows he's on the hot seat because for what he had his feathers were ruffled. That seems to be the term of the week. You watch, he'll come out because he has the potential. He's played well in the past.
I see him as a Raider.
I see him as a Raider. Line. You know what I think is going to be our key, Phil? I think our key is going to be, I think teams are going to try and run at us on the edges. And I think our key is staying disciplined. I think that's going to be our key. We did not do a good job as good as we had last year.
Well, here's the thing. When I look at the running whole thing, what did we get stuck into? Of course, in the beginning of the season, we had this amazing pass rush that was getting all these sacks. Like, oh, they get 5-8 sacks, whatever. Can they break the record of 8? And so there was this whole talk about this team. And then all of a sudden, with all these pass rush up the field, of course, the running backs were kind of getting right between the defensive tackle and where those edge rushers were going, and so there was really a lot of gaps there. So kind of like it stopped the edge rushers from going upfield and having to stay disciplined to help the running game. But now you have a guy like Hankins that, of course, came in, and you can watch his film all you want. You can see that he's a guy that holds that block and is able to go to the left. He's able to go to the right. He's able to kind of switch depending on where the run is playing. So if I'm holding a guy and we're running that way, and I have a defensive end on this side, and I can get to that side, that means I'm going to be able to at least clog up that big hole that's just all of a sudden appeared there. And I feel the same way about Mozzie, is that he's going to be able to do it on the other side of that defensive tackle position where you have the two there. So that'll definitely help this running game a lot. And so I hope that with, kind of a domino effect with helping that running game like that, you're helping the passing game as well, by being able to kind of just unleash your edge rushers and just kind of let them do their thing. And then, of course, freeing up your linebackers. I think it's just a cause and effect type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Ultra Cowboy is on a roll. Still trying to figure out why. I can't even make him a mod. It's not allowing me. He says Cowboys had the best roster in the NFL. Listen, man, I'm a Cowboy fan. I think it's close, and I'm curious to see what the Eagles are going to do. I think it's really, Emmy, us, Philly, Buffalo, Kansas. I think Denver could be close. I think the Chargers could be. That's what he says. He says, Golston, Osa, Hankins, and Mazu, we are good. I like it. I like our interior. I'm worried about because teams are going to run to the edge. We play Philly. Now they got, Swift, DeAndre Swift.
Okay, yeah.
And he's got a lot of speed to the edge. And they got the running back from Seattle, who can't stay healthy, but.
Well, I mean, Swift can't stay healthy either, but they're still good. I mean, my whole thing is that when you look at them, when they're in the game, they're going to be a threat. I mean, there is no doubt about that. It's just I feel really good about where this team can do. It's just that's a better running back to me than what they had last year, of course. So maybe you won't see Jalen run as much. But I like
what they got. The Eagles. I like the Eagles running backs more this year than I did last year. I think they got some studs back there, but there's deals where they can never stay healthy. But this might be the year that they can stay healthy. I don't think anybody's going to be able to run up the middle on us, Phil.
Yeah.
Chat, let me know if you think I'm wrong. Nobody's going to run up the middle with our defense. You're not running up the middle. I don't care who you have blocking, but the edges, that's where we need to improve a bit. DeMarcus Lawrence is really good against the run. The other side, we need to get a look at that. That was, you have Sam Williams. We'll see what he can do. I think he's good against the run, but we shall see. I mean, if Micah's running there, the Eagles seem to know how to play Micah. So, I'll be
Well, I mean, it's a
curious
good line.
to
It's a
see
very
how
good
that
line.
goes.
So, I mean,
but
sorry, I'm still trying to.
yeah, I don't know if you
to
saw
see.
my. Yeah. It is a good line. It is. It's the best line in football. Yeah, for my money, as far as the Eagles. But they did lose one of their guards in the offseason. You know how it works, Phil, man. One bad injury, and that's what my last video I said, you know, yeah, the Cowboys are worried about the Eagles, and the Eagles are saying they're better than the Cowboys, but they're saying we're their toughest competition. Meanwhile, the Giants are just getting better and better and better, and I don't think the Giants are going to be the best team this year, but they're not far away.
Yeah.
You got Evan Neal, you got Thomas, and then they drafted our guy.
Did you send me a picture?
Phil really liked him. John Michael Schmitz.
Yeah.
I will send you a picture.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but yeah. So they got John Michael Schmitz. Their line is going to be really good. So, it's just
Sorry, we're trying at the same time. We're in the background trying to unblock some users and stuff. But anyways,
it's on its way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it and stuff. But yeah,
You got it. Sorry, man. I got caught up.
No, it's all good.
I'm in a group text too.
You're in a group text too?
Yeah, trying to be nice. There we go. All right. So yeah, but I'm more worried about them running to the edges. What does the chat think about my assumption? I don't think many teams are going to be able to run up the middle on us. Ultra Cowboy is not worried about Eagles.
Yeah, I mean,
the Glimmer Man says Parsons got played by teams because they quit moving him around. Yeah, here's the deal. I think that's why Dan Quinn did what he did. He basically put Parsons in timeout and said, no, you're not going to be a D-end exclusively. You are going to you're going to be a Swiss Army knife, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love their draft so much, man. We drafted some key positions, in one, Overshown, who I'm really, really excited about. Hey, I don't know if Jack's watching. Hey, Jack, DeMarvion Overshown. Remember that name when he keeps tackling Jalen Hurts when he escapes the pocket or tries to run. Because I think teams are going to shut that shit down this year. Last year, it was kind of like basically Jalen breakout season, Phil.
Yeah.
You there?
Yeah, my I can get you. I got you,
Okay,
but I think my internet is being all iffy.
I'm not talking to the...
No. Yeah, my internet is just being iffy. So.
Okay. Ultra Cowboy. People worried about the Eagles, but didn't the Cowboys drop 40 on the Eagles? And that's what I'll say. Any Eagles fans that are watching, Twiz, you're our guy. I told my guys at work I want them to come in and be a part of the chat. A lot of teams put 40 on the Eagles last year. And you're talking about a vaunted defense. Dallas put 40 on you. What was the score in the Super Bowl? Mahomes. Hurts did his job, went down the field, scored the touchdown, and the Eagles vaunted defense couldn't stop him.
Honestly, to tell you the truth, I was kind of I know Kansas City's defense wasn't amazing throughout the year. So again, I was still surprised. I was still a little surprised by Philly putting that much points off in the Super Bowl. So I got to kind of give them credit for that. But I mean, when you look at the two, we of course last week we compared Hurts and we heard Hurts and Dak and everything, and so we had numbers, and of course, there were some numbers that didn't come out with like red zones and how the percentage of touchdowns, and of course we were talking about how Jalen and them, he's not very successful when it comes to end zone touchdowns and even just completions in general, getting it in tight windows, and when it's not unexpectedly down the field, that people aren't expecting you to hit it, and he's hit a couple of those, but the end zone stuff, I mean, you can kind of now understand why their main, offensive weapon was to try to push forward with the line. Because, again, we said that before. I mean, the line, if you can at least get your guy and push them at least a yard or two, I mean, that's going to do it. And that's what that line has been able to do. And so, again, like I keep rotating back to the line because, I mean, when we had those years where Romo and had DeMarco Murray and then DeMarco kind of left and then Zeke, it was just an amazing offensive line. So you can make all those transitions, you can make all those changes, and it wasn't really affecting the offense. What worries me this year, of course, and we keep on repeating it like, flogging a dead horse, but, is our offensive line. We got a guy, of course, that's kind of iffy in the sense of Tyron Smith. Tyler Smith, we don't have questions about. He's still growing, he looks thinner. You see him this year; he looks a lot thinner than he did last year. So you're wondering how that's going to transition. Of course, Tyler Biotish. When you really look at his numbers, he's given up 1 sack in 3 years.
On him, man.
Yeah, and I have too as well. And so, I mean, giving up 1 sack in 3 years, that's quite a bit for a center, especially with all the defensive tackles you tend to take on. Of course, Zach Martin, the right guard that we know and love. And then, of course, Steele, which everybody's questioning. I mean, you can't go off of an injury and not have some kind of question marks. I think the same thing with Tony Pollard. So I think when you look at our offense, it's a very solid offense, except for everybody knows when Tyron Smith has his incident, what's going to happen then. And so I think that's what makes it questionable. So. But I love all the other weapons that are on the offense. I mean, even down to Deuce Vaughn, where that's a question you see a lot of people asking, what's going to be his role? So Brian, what's going to be his role? We kind of talked about it, but what's going to be a role? What's going on?
Who are we talking about?
Talked about Deuce Vaughn. Like, what's his good role going to be like this year?
Yeah, he's going to be a third down back. But early on in the OTAs, it's only OTAs. Believe it or not, he was in on short yardage downs. I don't know what to make of that.
What's going on, Howard Dickinson?
But he was in on short yardage downs. Darius Slay, Ultra Cowboy. Slay getting burnt on 3rd and 30 bomb by a 40-year-old wide receiver was classic. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge Slay guy. I'm just not. And Bradbury, was playing for a contract last year. Slay's on, I believe, a 1-year deal, and Bradbury has a 3-year deal, I believe. Listen, man, getting back to what I was saying, the Eagles' defense, although opportunistic, and that's what was, I believe, I'm not sure who said it in the chat, but they were very opportunistic. They need Jordan Davis to pan out in the worst way. He did not pan out last year. He was a letdown, to say the least, last year. He's got a lot of talent. It's just, will he stay healthy and will he produce? We shall see. Hargrave is gone for the Eagles. So if I'm running, I'm not so much worried about Fletcher Cox, because you saw what happened 2 years ago. He had a better year next to next to Hargrave. Yeah. But I think we could run the ball there. That's why I said it's a big year for Jordan Davis. If he can stop the run and shore up that middle, like he was drafted to do with all the capital they gave to get him, But I see Deuce Vaughn. He's a third down back, basically. You're passing down in third downs.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at him, I think he'll definitely help the running game. Again, when Tony,
Howard Dickerson, welcome to the show.
Those questions that we were talking about in the sense of, is Tony going to be 100% from, where he's been? Now that he's the starter, it's going to be more workload. I'm not really worried about that in that sense, because we all know that, he can do some amazing stuff in his hands. And the fact that he was on the practice field already very early, making cuts and making moves, makes me very optimistic about his opportunities that he's going to get this year. But, if you have something where he has to come out and, maybe even for a drive, I definitely trust a guy like Deuce Vaughn to be able to kind of do his thing and definitely get behind this offensive line and get lost a little bit. But I think it's going to definitely help in the passing game. If him and Dak can get on the same spot and Dak's not overthrowing him or anything because of how his height is, I think that it's going to be amazing out of the backfield. But I also see him as a kick returner. and a possible punt returner. If if all of a sudden Turpin is on the crap list,
Turpin time.
Yeah, and you need another guy back there. I mean, he's a heck of a change of pace, or he's to be able to get your team a spark. That maybe you haven't had all game. Maybe Turpin hasn't been doing it all game. He's maybe fumbled twice like he did last year. All of a sudden, it was a punt and a kickoff, and then you need somebody else to kind of do something. I think that's where you'll have him.
Yeah, I was definitely disappointed in Turpin. There was a lot of fluff, but when it came down to it, he didn't do much. I was kind of annoyed with him by the end of the year, to be quite frank.
Howard Dickinson says
trying to get him involved more early in the OTAs.
Yeah, Howard Dickinson says, I like Vaughn pick, but I think Dallas should go after Hunt until Pollard is back. I mean,
Carter isn't there to get sacks.
I'm not.
Stop the run. I agree, Howard. I definitely agree with you. I just mean what they gave up to get him last year. And he was banged up in college. He's a beast.
I almost want to
admit.
There's a couple of them
this year when the Eagles drafted the other Georgia lineman, and in my mind it could work, but you're relying on a guy who hasn't done it in the NFL. That's all I was saying.
But yeah, Howard, I would say Hunt. I mean, there's a couple of veterans there. I mean, Cook. I wouldn't be too disappointed with Cook if the money was right. I think maybe nobody signing him will kind of hit his ego a little bit to where maybe he would sign for a little bit less money. But we're talking about Stephen Jones.
Fired, Jack Meeker.
Stephen Jones less money though, So I mean, will he? I don't think he'll get that desperate. But some of these guys, I would rather see another guy in here than a guy like Robert Jones. And I hope I eat those words.
Twiz. Really? You're gonna go there, my man?
Hey, that was a good one. That's nice one.
Come on. And now it's about appearances. I got news for you. If I go to the Super Bowl and lose, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the Super Bowl if I'm gonna lose. Now, Twiz, don't even lie that if Dallas goes and loses on the last play, like the Eagles did, you'd be the first one in here saying they choked. You would pick a player on the Cowboys that didn't get the job done.
If Dak fumbled into the end and fumbled and it got scored on, I think come on. It would be everywhere. I mean, you don't. Oh, that's funny.
Come on, man. Come on. I need more Eagles people. I keep sending out the bat signal, and nobody's stepping up a Twiz.
No, man.
Come on. I know.
It's very early in the season. They're hibernating, so it's this.
I believe Howard. I believe that's the guy I work with. So if that's Howard, if that's you, thanks for joining the show, my man. I really appreciate it. We are not Eagle necessarily haters here. We keep it real. We know the Eagles are good. I had put something up.
But not that good.
Touched on it early in the show. I put something up on Twitter. I was getting lit up by a couple people, and I just wanted to kind of set the record, say, well, hold up. The Eagles coach that you have now, he wasn't the one that won the Super Bowl in 2018. Okay? This quarterback, Jalen Hurts, wasn't the quarterback who won the Super Bowl in 2018. I was just putting out some facts, and it literally got, 32,000 views it's up to now. It's got like 80 retweets, like another 70 comments. All I was trying to say is put the facts out there. My buddy Jack, he's like, I just want to know about the facts. Well, the facts are, and I don't know who it was because I don't have your name in my phone, but he texted me saying, Phil, you'll get a kick out of this, and everybody in the chat. He said, Dallas Cowboys haven't been relevant since there was VCRs. Since you guys used VCRs. Now, I argued, and I said, I think it was Laserdisc. I think
they were already
Dallas
past that.
won in the Laserdisc era. But you get what I'm saying. You would have thought that the Eagles have won nonstop Super Bowls.
What's going on, DMV?
DMV, my man, what's up? My brother from another mother. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, holding it down.
We're talking about going to the Canton next month. So I don't know what's going to go down with that, but I might be going to the Hall of Fame, baby.
Oh, Hall of Fame game? Is the Hall of Fame game or no?
Dallas ain't there, but some inductees. Okay. You got our boy D. Ware's going to be there.
Yeah, I've never been there actually. It's definitely one of my bucket list type
Yeah,
of
it's about a
things.
7 year, 7 hour. Well, from Mark's house, it's about a 7 hour drive. So
Yeah, it's a
my
hot.
house is like 9, 10. I'll probably go to Mark's and go there if we go. But
We agree
anyway,
with you.
yeah, I was just um, basically saying I'm not going to lie. The Eagles have had more recent success, but when I was
But
a
still
young
haven't
kid,
caught
I
up.
don't
I
remember
understand.
the Miami Dolphins win, Phil. I don't remember it. I was too young. But I do remember my first experience. My dad was born in Oklahoma, raised in Dallas. That's all he ever knew was Cowboy football. He wasn't a big sports guy, which is why I'm a big Philly fan and everything else, but he was a huge Cowboy fan. I got
Truth.
a shit ton of memorabilia here, signed shit from Tom Landry, on and on and on. But the Eagles, I mean, like, yeah, like my first experience was losing to the Steelers. So it's not like I'm a bandwagon, right? I was 5 years old when they lost to the Steelers back-to-back years. And I went my whole adolescent life until they actually done something in the 90s. But it's funny, Phil, because I think it's like different now. Back in the 90s, the Eagles would always beat the hell out of us, Phil. I was at most of the games. Eagles would beat
Randall
the living crap
Cunningham.
out of us, but they would do nothing in the postseason, right? But beating the Cowboys was their Super Bowl. It was. I was there at the game.
I see a lot of that with a lot of teams.
1995. Yeah. Go ahead, man. I know I'm wrong.
No. It's okay. Lena Walker says Kershaw Cowboy fans are always talking about us. Yeah, it's a mutual thing. Trust me, I see it a lot. Nobody's taking away Dallas' success as a franchise, but it's when they have a great team every year and fail is why they talk, and it's in a negative way. It's true. It's true. I mean, we always have that. You're like, okay, he's this is the year, and a lot of that isn't Cowboy fans. I mean, you have a little section. I mean, of course, you're going to call yourself America's team. You're going to be all over the place. So that little section of Cowboy fans are, this is the year, but a lot of that hype comes from the media.
Man,
a lot of it's the media.
The NFL, Phil.
Yeah.
It's every year. Everybody has a chance to win. I'm not talking about our Super Bowls because Eagles fans are right. It's been a long time ago, but they act like we haven't had any success. Dak Prescott has won 2 playoff games in the last 5 years. Okay, that's the same amount as Jalen Hurts. Now he has lost 4, but if you watch my video, I did post it in the chat. If anybody that hadn't watched it on my own channel, I did post a video explaining a lot of that. But I understand we need to win. But I have a feeling that if we were to go and win the Super Bowl this year, there would be some excuse, right? They wouldn't give Dak the credit. What do you think about that, Phil? Do you think they would say, "Oh my God, Dak Prescott"?
Well, I would
be their defense won it, or whatever.
That's
what it would be.
So let's paint this picture. In the sense, okay, Dallas gets a bye week. Okay, boom, we're going into it, number 1 seed. We get into it, all of a sudden we're playing against a 3rd or 4th string quarterback, and then we're playing against a defense that maybe is missing 2 of their stars, and they get into the Super Bowl and they play against a team like that's just jumping back into their thing, like maybe the Jets or just something that a team that you're like you don't expect them to be there. And then they're there, and then that kind of a victory happens. So of course, man, there's always going to be people that are like, "Well, you beat a team that wasn't supposed to be there," and so it doesn't matter what happens. I mean, they could miss their kicker, and they're like, "Well, they didn't have their kicker, so they couldn't confidently go for things. They had to really kind of mess with their game plan because they didn't have their kicker available." So I mean, trust me, anything can be. There's slippery fields, and guess what? It's slippery fields for both sides. It's for both sides, man. It's not just the one side.
I don't know, John. I don't know if my buddy John I work with is watching, but his main thing was
it's slippery
the league
fields.
Didn't want the Eagles to win. Him and Jack, they don't think they wanted the Eagles to win, and they wet the field. It didn't have a problem all game, but just the last drive. I mean, I don't know, man. I think we're getting too deep in the
I'm messing.
the weeds.
Yeah,
the bottom line is the Eagles didn't stop them.
Yeah.
Eagles didn't stop the Chiefs when they needed to stop them.
Let's be real. Okay, let's be real. Okay, like let's say you put Dallas in that situation where they're in the Super Bowl and they're going against Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes again would have destroyed. Patrick Mahomes is on another level, especially within his prime of his career. And they have a really good running game, and Dallas would have struggled with the running game. So I mean, there was things there that we're not saying that we would have came out and dominated. But when you put so much on your quarterback and he kind of, you got your center telling that he's had the best performance out of any quarterback. Nah, get out of here. He wasn't even the best. He wasn't the better one even in that game. And there was only 2 guys passing. So I mean, it's hard to top a guy like Patrick Mahomes, but. They played to their strengths, and I got to give them credit for at least putting as many points on the board. But I don't know how many of us really thought that it was in doubt. I mean, we knew going into it that it was going to be a tough team to beat. So that's what we were talking about. You played an easy game, 2 games going into the Super Bowl, and then you had to play a legit team. And guess what happened, man? That legit team whooped your ass.
Kill him, man.
What's going on here? Let me see.
He said he told Eastside Harold. If anybody don't know, Eastside Harold's a Texans fan. He told Eastside to go drink some milk, man. Eastside needs to calm down. Maybe Eastside's lactose intolerant. Maybe we don't want him to drink milk. I don't know.
Eastside's getting all excited. He's like,
they will find some excuse not to give Dak his props. Listen, Lady Libra, I agree. I'm tired of hearing it. They're right, though. It's been forever since we won the Super Bowl. But this is what I want to get into. And I want to hear from
I wouldn't have put us winning it. I would have.
I want your response, people. Don't just watch. I want you to talk. Because I know Eagles fans are here. Other than Twiz and, here's the deal. Like in the words of Billy Beane, the ex-Oakland A's the general manager. Now he's like the vice president, but he's still with the team. They made a damn movie after him, Moneyball. He let all the high-priced, price guys go. Brought in a bunch of young guys, went to analytics, ended up getting out to a horrible start.
Yeah, Twiz, dude, there was like 10 teams back then. You can't count it, man. You can't count. That's why you don't want to count the whole history. Well. Dude, how many people were in the playoffs with 10 teams? Like 4? Like it's just, you won the Super Bowl with 4 teams? Like,
but anyway, the immortal words of Billy Beane. They ended up not winning the World Series. The Oakland A's did not get the World Series a win. It was the Minnesota Twins. And Billy Beane said, it was a great year, but at the end of the day, when you lose your last game of the season, nobody gives a shit. And that's a fact. When you lose your last game of the year, and this is the Cowboys fan. When we lost to in the Ice Bowl, and that wasn't a Super Bowl, but when we lost in the Ice Bowl, okay, I don't remember that shit. We lost. The bottom line is we lost. We lost to the Steelers twice.
Which one stings for me that I see in history is Joe Montana passed into the end zone, and of course even our guy dropping it in the end zone.
Joe Montana.
Yeah. I said he throw touchdowns first pass.
It'll forever be,
No,
it'll forever be linked in my brain. Shout out, rest in peace, Dwight Clark, man. That just goes to show you, man. Don't think Eagles are hot now, and I just want to let you know
the salary cap.
You need to capitalize.
Yeah. As your quarterbacks
capitalize on this.
As your quarterback's thing next year, it's still manageable, your quarterback's salary. So I think you got these next 2 years to kind of put something together, and once that happens, man, it's going to be hard to get all those guys that you want, especially with how you do it. Now, if you're not doing it through the draft, you're not going to be able to pay people to come here all the time. Not with that when you're paying the quarterback as well. So I mean, that's kind of how you were able to do it this year, and get really big stars to come to that defense. But you did lose 1 or 2 people, so it's just. We'll see how it. I mean, you betted a lot with Bradbury being back there. I'm interested to see how that goes. I mean, you even had the Giants that were rebuilding that weren't interested going in that direction. So, how do you feel about? I know you were talking about New York. I think you're a little bit higher on New York than I am. I understand that again. I understand that they gotten better. I mean, their team was bad enough, so bad that it's hard not to get better and put better people on your roster with where you're picking. But to me, you know, doing a little bit better than last year than what they were really supposed to. I think it again stuns their growth a little bit.
They're going to get better, Phil.
And they are again.
They're going to get better. I don't think this is their year. I'm on record as saying I think they win 10 wins. I think they get off to a slower start based on their schedule. But, you know, we can get into who they got. You know, I already said their offensive line going forward is going to be dynamic. It's going to be really good. Between Evan Neal, Thomas, and now John Michael Schmitz, it's going to be really, really good. Their tight ends, they got Bellinger, who I really liked, and then they went out and got Darren Waller. You know, and we're talking about starting a fantasy league.
And Waller again, the guy that was guy that was hard to stay healthy as well. And again, but when he's on there, he's healthy, a good.
When healthy,
yeah, he's a good tight end. But again, who is their main, quarterback? Who is their guy that's going to, no matter what, the game is on the line. You got a guy that's Hopkins on the outside. It doesn't matter. You got your quarterback that needs to get him the ball, and Danny Dimes is more 10 out of 12. That's kind of like one of those things. That's the only dime that he has, is that you can find a quarterback like him 10 out of 12 times. It's those other two that you can't find. Again, I mean, he'll throw some stuff here and there. I mean, he's an NFL quarterback. I mean, even a blind squirrel finds a nut here and there, and I think that's kind of where you're at with him. And I just don't see it.
He's done well with no line, Phil. He has done.
I think he's had a good line. I think he's had a really good line, honestly.
Who?
Like, I think the Giants have had a good line. I mean, you look at them; they got two tackles that have
they have two guys.
Well, they got two tackles
years ago. It was horrible. It was a sieve, and he was running for his life. And then they went out and they got Jalen Hyatt, who's the speed burner on the outside.
And so he's going to need to get it down the field. I mean,
I'm just saying they have a lot of weapons. They got Barkley, they got Matt Breida. Their defense is getting more dynamic with the Alabama safety. They got Ojulari. They got Leonard Williams. I mean, it goes on and on, man. I mean,
even Washington, when you pick it out, I mean, they're going to have at least 7 or 8 people that are going to be good. It's just, do you have your starters on both sides, your kicker, and do you have backups to go over there? And they just don't have that. Same thing with Washington.
Yeah. Mark Hutchins said in a year or two, NFC East will be the toughest division. And, hey, Mark, it was last year, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
All 4 teams would have made the playoffs if Rivera in
I didn't know we couldn't do that. I didn't know we could
get eliminated. If he would have started the right quarterback, he started Carson Wentz, and he shit the bed on the last game of the year.
He goes, I'm going to go
Howard
back
Dickerson says, I'm a huge fan of Brian Daboll. Me too, man. Brian Daboll is a good coach.
Yeah, he is. I got to give him that. That is a good coach.
So, all I'm saying is Eagles fans hate the Cowboys, and the Cowboys hate the Eagles, and we're going to be fighting with each other, and then the Giants are right there. They're not far behind us. It doesn't take much in this league. There's not that much of a gap from the worst team in the league to where the Kansas City and the Eagles were last year. That's all I'm saying. There's not that much of a gap. That's why you can lose any given week if you're not ready.
Yeah, I mean, that's anybody in the NFL. I mean, you look at the worst team. If they have the motivation to want to beat you, and you kind of going in there, sloppy and thinking that this is just going to be a give me, of course you can lose. And I think enough of these teams are getting better. I mean, you got some of these guys that have been at the bottom, but they're, how they're building their teams has just changed to where they're actually building teams. I mean, you got Cleveland that's just been this. You don't know what you got over there, but now you got a quarterback that's going to kind of be playing in a whole off season, a whole year. So that's going to improve. That team is going to definitely improve there. It's just, can they get past that curse? I mean, you got teams like the Jets, for example, that have never really kind of been, you look at the Jets, you're like, okay, yes, we can always lose to the Jets, but most of the time, sorry, man. Most of the time you're thinking that that's going to be an easy victory, but now you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers that's bringing his wide receivers that he never got from Green Bay, and he might be doing this thing over there, so that's going to be a thing over there in the AFC. So I still think those guys that are going to be on the top is, of course, Buffalo maybe the third. You got Cincinnati, and then you got Kansas City. So, who do you have in the AFC that you think has improved the most, and of course is your top three?
Yeah, Howard Dickerson, he's shooting some facts here. He says Cowboys defense is elite. If they had consistent QB play and better play calling, they're in the NFC Championship game last year. Simple as that. See how offensive Judd new OC. Yeah, Howard. In my opinion, you got to remember, Dak had what? How many games did he miss? A month? 5 weeks?
Yeah, 4 or 5 games.
He had to have surgery on his
but
thumb.
I don't want to say 5 games. 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, he had surgery on his thumb. Now, I understand Dallas didn't lose every game he was out. I think they went 4-2. I think he missed 6 games. I think, or 3-1, whatever.
I want to say we went 4-1. I want to say went
scoring.
I want they went 4-1 is what Cooper Rush did.
4-1. 4-1. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. But I mean, he did have hand surgery, and he's a quarterback. And you got to remember, basically throwing the one weapon. He was throwing to CeeDee Lamb. That was it. We had Noah Brown. Sometimes when I look back at that. We had Gallup coming back from
injury.
Surgery.
Yeah, but we thought he was going to come back maybe week 8 or so. I mean, he didn't come back for quite a bit.
Brought him back way too early, Phil.
Yeah, and I agree as well too. I mean, you can kind of tell. You can kind of definitely tell. It's just now you have a wide receiver room that you're pretty proud of. You're just wondering if there's going to be anybody that kind of sneaks in there that we don't see. I mean, there are some guys that they're talking about with speed and Camp going in there that definitely have a chance, but to me, I think you got your core 5 guys, you possibly 6 with Turpin. To me, it's going to be really hard to go and dethrone somebody into one of those positions. I mean, you're going to have to really bring it. And you always see somebody, and this team, of course, of any team, is great at finding those undrafted free agents. And from what you can tell right now going into this camp, you got a lot of undrafted free agents that are going to make a splash. I mean, even down to the fullback. How many times do you go in there and get excited about a fullback?
And you're right. Everything you say is correct, but every team needs to be constantly churning the bottom of the roster and bringing in young talent. You just can't have a team. Listen, what the Eagles did last year should have resulted in a Super Bowl. Howie Roseman, we've talked about it ad nauseum. He hit a home run in the offseason last year. You remember when Jalen Hurts went into Tampa the year prior in a playoff game, looked horrible. The Eagles got blown out in Tampa. They had a deal in place this offseason. This time last year, Phil, right before the draft, actually, they had a deal in place for Russell Wilson. That's how much they were not sure about Jalen Hurts. Oh, by the way, they make a trade for A.J. Brown. They bring in Hassan Reddick. They make all these moves. And listen, Eagles fans, that's not that percentage. Howie hit a home run, man. He did. And I give him credit for that. But you don't expect that year in and year out. They didn't do much this offseason. They lost 7 weapons on defense. They brought back their corners who gave up 40 points multiple times. I'm only saying that because I keep hearing, they brought back corners. Okay, well, fuck, Dallas scored 40 against you. You know what I mean? In the Super Bowl, you had the game, and the defense gave it up. I mean, it's going to come down to us two. I think the Giants are going to be close. It's going to come down to us two, Phil. But
in the division? Are you talking about in the division, or are you talking about the conference?
Yeah, we have to worry about the division. I think both teams make the playoffs. Quite honestly, I do. I think we both make the playoffs, unless there's a major injury, and I don't want to see that happen. Because I was saying that earlier today. I love when the Eagles are really good, and Dallas is good, and the Giants are good. Washington, not so much. I know everybody thinks they're going to be better. Look at their schedule, people. Washington will be lucky to win 7 games. It is what it is. I think Sam Howell's going to run into a little bit of an issue, and people are game planning for him. as opposed to coming in like he did last year. But topic, it's going to be us against the Eagles, man.
Yeah.
It
Jack
really
Meeker
is.
wants to know: do y'all have faith in Tolbert taking a real step? You want? I can start it off. You want to?
Yeah, no, you go ahead, Phil. Where I'll top off the your comment.
Going into this off season, there were two guys, of course, Simi. I keep bringing him up. Nobody want to kind of put faith in anything into Simi. I kind of had that same thing with him. With Tolbert, we didn't know what we had. Of course, everybody kind of struggled with the whole last season, just kind of like Jabril Cox, where we want to see this guy and what he can do. But when he was in there, you didn't really see it. And I don't know if, again, Kellen not really playing to his strength. But when you see, and so I was like, okay, no matter what, I don't like getting into this whole camp hype train, Vasher in the corner of the back of the end zone with one hand. And, it's hard to not want to get into some of these guys. But when you watch the body of work that he's been going about, it's not only are you fit to go in there. When we look at him, he looks extremely fit. But are you taking the time? Are you spending valuable time in the offseason? And I think he's doing that by throwing and catching with Dak Prescott at his home. And every time you see anybody working out, you saw Cook's boxing. Tolbert was right there. So, he's around the teammates. He's definitely Tolbert. Getting in there. And I think he's doing the right things to go ahead and elevate his game. I think that's the problem that I said with Joseph, Kelvin Joseph, is that when he got drafted, I made a video right when he got drafted, is that will he be able to put the concentration in and actually put in the work, because his body of work in the past has said that he's lazy. He's lazy. He's not going to put in that work. And so when you look at Tolbert, I don't look at it.
Better known as.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
Kelvin Joseph, that was a stretch, man. It's pretty sad when you were a second-round draft pick, and we're talking about how good you are on special teams.
What's up, Mark? Is that Mark?
That's the only way he's going to make this team is if he's really good on special teams. It's crap or get off the pot for Kellen Joseph, and I think his time's up. I really do. Dallas doesn't like getting rid of their draft picks, especially high ones like that. But welcome. The Godfather's in the house. Mark Holmes has showed up.
I'm going to make them enough that they can't refuse.
Worried about you.
Yeah, exactly. He's signing on the wrong accounts, burner accounts.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're doing good. I just wanted to,
he's working hard all the time, man.
Siding, man. I think the house is looking good, man.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to probably have to come down here and do some work on the property that I'm working on as well. So, trip down to Naples is never a bad thing, right?
You're right.
But anyways, going into training camp, a lot of stories. We were talking about, of course, the defense, the defensive secondary.
Highlight Howard's quote.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and read it. You're good.
Yeah, he says they put. He says they put too much faith in the receivers. Jerry never replaced Cooper. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So they went out and got Cooks this year because Gallup doesn't seem to recover from ACL. Yeah, he knows his shit. Yeah, definitely. He was not recovered.
Yeah.
They brought him back out of necessity, and as I was telling you earlier, it's basically CeeDee Lamb and a bunch of average to below average receivers.
So when you're going into this year,
help.
Yeah, when you're going into this year, you're going on third down. Okay, do you trust Dak throwing it to CeeDee Lamb? Yes. Do you trust Dak throwing it to Cooks? Yes. Do you trust Dak a season in throwing it now to Gallup? Do you trust him throwing it to some of those now your fourth and fifth receiver is somebody that like a Tolbert, your fourth receiver, where you're looking at the body of work and what was the big thing when you looked at Noah Brown? The only thing that was great and positive about Noah Brown going in there is when Cooper Rush was in there, that was his guy. That was his practice guy. So you could see the body of work that they had put together where he knew what he was going to throw. So he would turn already, and of course, right. Cooper Rush, knowing that he was going to turn, he would anticipate the throw. So you got to see definitely a lot of that, and so you got to see that early. And so on third downs, he would just go to him. So when you see him doing that with a possible fourth receiver on the roster, that definitely says that he could come for that number 3 spot. If Gallup doesn't show, that he's 100%, but even Gallup is saying that he was saying it's quiet last year. Even Gallup going into this year is feeling great as well. So I'm loving where our wide receiver core is going. I even like behind it. Who's the other people that catch the ball? The tight ends, and I love our tight end room.
I agree with you there.
everybody looks at Jake
love our
Ferguson
tight
as
end.
the main
I'm getting lit
weapon.
up on Twitter again. I haven't been on there in a while. I'm still getting lit up.
Yeah,
Jesus
you suck,
Christ.
man.
Get
Yeah.
off me.
Yeah, it's like
I'm getting lit up, guys. Help me out on Twitter, man. These are coming after me. Yeah, so listen, man, it's gonna be fun. I'm on record saying I think the Eagles get out to, I believe it was a 6-0 type start. I really do think they're gonna get out to a hot start. If they don't get out to a start, then if I was an Eagle fan, I would be concerned based on your schedule. I know I'm going to the Giants game opening Sunday Night Football. I already got my tickets. We're talking about going to Carolina. The group, I don't know who all. I know Mark was talking about it, but I'd like to go to Carolina, Dallas to Carolina. But yeah, we're thinking about going to Canton next month. So we shall see. But we will live streaming like we did at the draft. And who was it that was talking? I want to say Ultra Cowboys talking about going to the draft in Detroit. Me and Phil were talking about definitely going to the draft next year. We learned a lot this year watching Mark and DMV. It was great. It was fun, more of a learning experience. But yeah, look for us at the draft, man. I think we're gonna big things this year, Phil. Big things, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Our comfort level and doing these broadcasts is definitely, you can kind of see it. And it, even the overlays compared to where I first started and compared to where I'm at now, I feel a lot more comfortable. And even the live broadcast, when we did that, that was a whole learning thing. We were kind of like just sitting there for 15, 20 minutes before trying to get the Wi-Fi to work.
Like, the man behind the curtain and like the Wizard of Oz, pulling all the.
I like the tech.
1,000 things going on, man.
Yeah, I love to do the technician part of it, and I think and it's just always fun when you're able to do something different, and so I'm always trying to change it. And of course, we're always trying to bring people on. We'll probably have a guest next week, but tomorrow even. What are we doing tomorrow, Brian? Don't we have some plans here?
What are we doing? Well, Cole's Cowboys wants to have us on his show tomorrow.
Oh, Gino!
I believe he said 6. I think he said 6:30, 7 o'clock.
I can't remember.
Shout out Cole's Cowboys. He was in the chat. He does a lot of Eagle stuff.
A lot of Eagle stuff, like irritation.
Enemies collide type stuff. Where
he definitely.
Eagle YouTuber, a Cowboy YouTuber, whatever. That's what I was telling Phil. There's not a lot we could talk about, people. I did create a stir on Twitter, and that's cool. We're not a channel that's going to crap on a team just because you're our rival.
Yeah.
Listen, Eagles fans, I think he does.
Mark has a live stream tomorrow.
It is what it is. I'm always on Mark's live stream. I forgot. I didn't know. I know Mark.
I was like, check every single day. How about that? That's how Mark is. Check every day.
Yeah, Mark Holmes will be live, I believe,
morning,
5
afternoon.
Tomorrow I'll be on there with him. And then followed by Cole's Cowboys. We're going to do a live with Cole's. Who's hiding Howard Dickerson? I never go to the Cowboys live stream, but I'm always about talking NFL, and I'm not.
Can you unhide him?
Just talking facts and whatnot. Yeah, I hear you. And we're a channel who we don't talk a lot of crap. We will throw the facts out. We could have a disagreement, and that's fine. But like I was just saying, I like it when the Eagles are really good. I like it and I believe that the Cowboys are really good. I believe the Giants are good. Whether really good, I don't know, but I think they're good, man. I think they're not. We're not going to roll through the NFC East this year, Phil. I think it's going to be tough, man. I'll be at that first game up at MetLife, Sunday Night Football, man. I'll be there, and I'm not all.
Well, it's always that first game.
Confident, man. I think that's a tough spot for us.
Well, let's look into it. Like, you really think that the offense is going to get a lot of practice going through the preseason?
Right.
No,
exactly.
So there is going to be some question marks going into that first game, and the Giants just happen to be a division rival, which we happen to be doing a lot of that towards the end of the year. But of course, it sucks the opponent that you're going against to do it. But if he does anything like he did in previous years, where he's kind of just come out the gate and really kind of started slinging it, I'm very confident in this offense. I feel like we, as an offense with Kellen Moore, of course, we're a very potent offense. I'm not going to not going to take anything away from Kellen Moore. We know what his weaknesses were, and I think that's what I feel. I feel like you're able to unleash this beast and allow them to actually attack now. And unfortunately, it's just Kellen kind of held us back a little bit with those curl routes. Curl routes fine. But it has to have different timing in that curl route and the progression.
Is right now.
What's that?
Yeah. Well, the narrative is Kellen Moore was just all of a sudden he's gone. That he's this great offensive mind, and Dallas is tougher because of it. And in fact, he was butting heads with McCarthy. You could say whatever you want. I know Jack Scott. I work with the guy. He's a diehard Eagles fan. He's kind of a loudmouth Eagles fan. He doesn't ever see the good side of everybody else other than the Eagles. That's just a fact. But he hates Mike McCarthy. Well, I got news for you. He's the only head coach. He's one of very few that have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I like McCarthy.
Kellen Moore was limited. How many times did we have to see those
screens
or 3rd down and 10, and everybody knew they were running those comeback routes? Supposedly there was a lot of issues last year, and maybe it's hard. Here's the deal: it's hard to take the play calling away when statistically you're 1, 2, 3 in the league. How is Mike McCarthy going to go and say, Kellen, you're not doing a good job? Because statistically he was doing good, but at the end of games, time and time again, you saw what would happen, and that's a team that won 12 games last year. People, Dallas won 12 regular season games, but there was a couple games at the end where it was a joke, and I think not roll anything else up.
Well, when you talk about it, I think, and also when you hear McCarthy talk about, Kellen Moore just wanted to light it up, and I don't know, I'm not really, the words aren't totally there what he was saying. I think and he's talking about the running game. He's not talking. I mean, we already ran the ball quite a bit. I think it's again situational football. You're up by 30-something points, you're not probably going to see a whole lot of 40 burgers as you're just going to see a dominant victory. And I think that's, once you get ahead, you're going to see a little bit more running the ball and using your backs and not just flipping out screens and thinking that you're going to get 2 or 3 yards with that. So, I mean, you're going to see a little bit different of play call in those situations, and I think that's where you see the difference. I think the other stuff is going to change, stay a lot of the same. I mean, for example, Dak is going to have his bootlegs. They're going to roll him out, and he's great on the run. You got those tight ends that are great at blocking, and then all of a sudden can slip out. That doesn't go away, and I think as long as you got some, we all know McCarthy and Schottenheimer, they love those crossing routes, getting people in motion. I think, not having that option for the receiver to go all of a sudden in a different way is going to help as well. But, of course, I'm going to go ahead and go a negative. And what's Dak's weakness when it comes to throwing that zone linebacker across the middle. So that means he'll get 1 or 2 interceptions through the year where it'll just be all of a sudden, he didn't see that guy and he just threw it because the route was going in that direction. But I'd rather take, those running routes than stopping and curling and letting corners be able to jump it. And, when it comes to the offensive, I'm definitely more excited about going into this year than last year, for example. So, I was on board for quite a while when I wanted Jason Garrett out of here. And now it's just you got the continuation.
And you brought up a good point, and I want to get to the chat real quick, but let me just say this. You brought up a good point. Eagles fans in the chat, Howard and Twiz, I know he had to go feed the animals, and whoever else is in here, Elena. Dallas going into last season, I understand we were coming off because we've had back-to-back 12-win seasons. It was a real mystery of what we were going to get. We were not that confident going into the year. And the fact that with what we had was pretty impressive. But Jack Meeker said, it's wild to me as a lifelong Cowboys fan to be butting heads with Eagles so much. because Washington is our traditional rival, and he's right about that. Do you know Dak's record against the Eagles is 8-3? Because some Eagle fans say he's a horrible quarterback. He can't. Well, he seems to be doing it against you guys, and I know that's not the end all be all, but if you can win in your division, that's a big deal. I posted something on Twitter about Dak's record within the division, and it's pretty incredible. But Glimmerman says we're sweeping the East. Now, Glimmerman, that would be great, but I just don't see that happening. Twiz, he's going to feed the animal. Howard says Washington is going to be better franchise, new ownership. I agree, Howard. Washington is
eventually
going to be better.
Yeah, they are.
But when you
I wouldn't say next year, but definitely down the road.
Check out their schedule, man. It's brutal.
I think down the road for sure. I think it's a great move. Stadium, you're going to see all the CNC Stadium stuff. I think it's definitely going to be an improvement for that team. Maybe even get a better name, man, and maybe actually get a copyright on the web. I don't know, just a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Like do the whole thing correctly.
I'll be careful. We're not monetized yet, but I'm old school. We'll just leave it at that. I never bought into the football team or Commanders, but we're in a powder puff society these days. We got to wear everything we say. I'll leave it at that. Howard says Kellen Moore was vanilla. Vanilla. It was why you guys lost to San Fran. Mediocre play calling didn't fit Dak's strengths. Yeah, because we gave up 19 points, Howard, in that game, and that for us, we should have won that game when
because the offense, yep.
When Tony Pollard got hurt, it was a wrap.
Yeah, they didn't have any kind of backup.
You could at that time and place.
Yeah, it wasn't like you had this. It wasn't like you had this controversy at running back going into the season. Like you were like, oh, Tony Pollard should play over Zeke, and and then Tony starts playing and Zeke is maybe still balling, and you're just like, okay, and then all of a sudden there's that story where they get hurt, and then that backup comes in and continues to ball out and carries the team. Well, this definitely wasn't happening because he was not that running back anymore. And, you could see it. There's some times where you would get hit and he just kind of fall to the ground. You're like, dude, man, in previous years, he would just kind of bounce off of that and get to the next level. Exactly. And you just didn't see it anymore. And it's, maybe he's one of those things. I think it would be a different type of running with Zeke if he did join a team just because he would have something to prove. But I think he was kind of just saving himself sometimes. And I know that's harsh to say when you're not the person doing it, but it kind of felt that way. He was kind of saving his body, or he's saving his career a little bit. And that didn't look good.
Markham says, thanks Seattle Super Bowl teams. Yeah, I mean, our defense is going to be good. It'll be interested to see this new Texas Coast offense. We'll see what it does. Atlanta Walker, why you keep wishing for injuries? I never wish for injuries, Elena.
Don't like
I want to see the Eagles at their best. I don't want to beat them banged up. It's like I don't want to lose to the Eagles if Dak's not there, I mean, I want you to beat our best and vice versa. Howard says, and that's why you need a solid number 2 running back to help keep Pollard 100% healthy. If he's a great receiver. I agree. I think Pollard is very, very explosive. And he was normally a healthy guy. That was kind of a freak thing, how he was pulled down in that playoff game. I would say it wasn't a horse collar, but it was along those lines where he was pulled down with the whole defensive weight, pulling him down awkward. It was weird.
I
Glimmerman says, okay, it's happening, Brian. Watch it happen. Division games are the hardest, but still. I hope you're right. Don't get me wrong. I hope we sweep the division. We did it a couple of years ago, but I'm just saying it's tough to do, man. That's tough.
Yeah, especially as you're talking with the Giants definitely improving. I definitely feel like we've improved defense. I think that's... the offense, I feel good about the weapons, that you got some more for Dak to get to. So you should have something there. Your running back room is kind of the only iffy thing, even though you got some pretty good weapons there as well. It's just, will they be able to produce? I mean, there's still some question marks with the injury. And, of course, the guy coming into his rookie year. So, you can't guarantee that they're going to be amazing. So the defense, I think the defense, we saw that be a really good defense with a little bit of holes here or there. They obviously go and get defensive tackle of a good feeling that they had going into it. When you hear like what what McClay was talking about during the draft about Mozzie Smith and how high they felt about him. The last time they felt about anybody like that was back when Russell Maryland or whatever, and he had a really good career. So I mean, the fact that you get
Dallas
a position
hadn't
of
drafted a guy that high since Russell Maryland.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at that. You look at you need a number 2. What did we say? The first episode out of the season when we lost to San Francisco, the first thing I said this offseason is the offseason of number 2s that can play number 1s. And what do? They go and they trade one of their picks to get Brandon Cooks, a number 2 receiver that can do what? Play number 1. And then they go out and get a corner that is number 2, but can play number 2
on that, right?
So I'm
sleeping on Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, I mean that's a big move. There's people talking about how Gilmore could possibly be better ranked than Diggs, and I mean that's a combination. I would love to see that competition through the year.
Throw the ball against.
Yeah, you got Bland in the middle.
In the
slot. And you saw how that happened last year with the 5 interceptions.
As a rookie.
Yeah, so I mean, you got some linebackers that can. Damone Clark. I mean, Cowboys Mafia keeps talking about Damone Clark. He gets excited about him. Sam Williams.
I love
young guys.
Some Damone.
Yeah, I mean, there are some guys on here. Then LVE. We found out that we needed him in this offense.
I forget how many weapons we're going to have this year. That's what. I think people are going to be surprised. I think they forget. I really do, Phil. Outside of the Cowboy Nation, but. Yeah, listen, we're going to have our hands full with the Eagles, but they're going to have their hands full with us, man.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think a lot of people...
It's not going to be that easy. Telling you people, Jack, I know you're not watching, but when you watch the replay, you're going to have your hands full, my man. Yeah, you are. I'm telling you, the league is not going to allow Jalen Hurts to run like he did before. He's just not going to be able to run up the middle like he did before. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to throw from the pocket more. He made strides in throwing from the pocket. We shall see, man. That's what's going to make it so fun. Howard says, well, from Hurts' first playoff game to last year was a step forward, so how does that make sense? Yeah, you can't predict that. The offense will change in the additions of the running backs. Yeah, we'll see, man.
I agree in the sense of how he played, but I think we keep bringing this up. And again, we're like Elena Walker in the sense we do not wish injuries upon anybody. But we all know Robert Griffin. We all understand these running quarterbacks that if you are going to continue to put him out there to be that guy, something is gonna happen. And he's not a huge dude. I mean, even Dak, for example. I mean, he has that freak little thing, but I mean, he can take on some linebackers and defensive guys, and he's big enough to do things. And you still worry about him a little bit, but Jalen's putting his head down, and eventually it just takes one. You don't want
Eagles
that.
Fans, you don't want your quarterback running like that, taking them hits. I don't care how much Jalen can squat, strong legs and all. Quarterbacks can't take them hits, man. These defenses are too big, too strong, too fast.
That's why I mean you got a guy like Swift so that's why you got to give him the ball.
The running backs. Yeah. My son had both of them running backs in fantasy. He's like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, AJ, but they always get hurt, man. I said, behind this line, I think they're going to be good. I do, but it'll be fun to see it play out. But I got to get to Gina Dallas Diva.
Yeah.
She's upset that Malik Davis. We're talking about Malik Davis. When Pollard got hurt, he had fresh legs. Zeke was spent at that point. Mm-hmm. He was. Mm-hmm. Why not bring Malik Davis in? And I was a little annoyed at that myself. But that all goes into what Howard was saying. That goes into Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore.
I
would, he as good as we did stat wise, and put up points in the regular season. He wasn't quick to change on the fly, if you ask me. Defensively, if you notice, we would go into the locker room and make unbelievable changes.
Offensively,
not so much.
You had that Jason Garrett mindset. Now I'm going to continue pushing our game plans. The game plan's eventually going to crack them, and we're going to be all over in the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, man. I loved I think the only thing that I liked that Jason Garrett did, other than some of that culture change in the beginning, was really just kind of start to build the team. I think that's what. I just wanted to see it kind of just go to the next guy, though. It's kind of like that whole, Unfortunately, I'm going to say this, but Gruden and then Dungy. I mean, Dungy built this amazing team, but he just couldn't push them past that. And then you got Gruden that goes in there and takes Tampa to the Super Bowl and goes. It's just he just had a different mindset and took those guys and were able to utilize them correctly. I mean, you had a defense that was amazing, but you're like, yeah, we're the number one defense. We had number one turnovers. He's like, okay, if you're such a great defense, then score points. And he challenged him.
We're getting ready to wrap it up, my man. Nice talking to you. Thanks for stopping in, man.
Yeah, I appreciate. We'll go on, of course, Marks tomorrow. We're going to go on Coles Cowboys tomorrow as well. Next Saturday we'll be on there. Until we get a kind of a traction going with the games going. Where we'll go on Saturday. We'll go the day after. Get some guests on here as well too. So, anything you want to talk about to the folks at home before we get out of here, Brian? Because we have been more than an hour.
Listen, man, this is the dog days. There's not much going on. I think camp starts in like 3 weeks. Towards the end of the month.
Oh, that's so true, Jack. That's so true.
What happened?
He says Kellen's the Clapper 2.0.
Yeah, 2.0. Well, we'll see. They're really touting him in San Diego.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about it. I mean, Chargers, you got Herbert, you got some guys, you got an amazing receiver, Quentin Johnson, that they drafted. They should be good. I mean, they were good last year. If you're going to tell me that there's going to be a drop, no, you can't give him all the reins about it as well. You still got a really good quarterback with some good weapons. So, he should be able to get some success there. So, sorry to cut you off on that.
No, that was it. Now, I'm just, I know we were going a little long.
No.
I'm looking forward to what's ahead. It's going to be a tough season, but I think it's going to be a fun season. Knock on wood, everybody, we stay healthy. I think we'll be in the playoffs, and that's all you got to do. You got to get in playing well. I'm not going to get caught up, and I want to win the division, but I just want to be in the playoffs, honestly, and playing good down the road.
I know this will change here in a couple of months, but I just want to see some football. I want to see some guys hit. I want to see some of these question marks.
It's enough talking.
Well, let's go and
there's
going to be more to talk about next week as well. And let's see if you can calm down and not rile up some fans this upcoming week. But no promises.
Well, I want to see more of them in here. We got a couple, but
Yeah, let's push. I mean, we're going to drive it to the 1,000 this year. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, we'll hit this 1,000. We'll get monetized.
At all, man. He left, man.
Yeah, he's all like
he's gone.
We're rambling a little bit, us old folks. But one thing, we forget a lot of things about how this team can be sometimes and how it heartbreak. So I appreciate you coming on here and sharing sometimes that heartbreak, especially when we lost in the playoffs, and then we were just ready to kind of get to the next step and see this team mature. Because of course we said before the end of the beginning of the season, we said we'll get to the playoffs, we'll get a victory, but that's as far as it'll go. It came true, Brian. It came true, and as much as we had everything hoping that we could push it further, it was exactly where we thought this team was going to be. That's why when we're going into this year, we look at this defense. This defense is very stacked. The depth behind that defense is very stacked. The offensive weapons look a lot better than they did last year. If it's a committee, it's a very good, strong committee that we can depend on. Running backs are a little bit question mark, but you don't question whether they can make plays. The offensive line, there are some questions there, but we'll see how that plays out. So, Brian, I appreciate you coming through. Have a great week. Guys, have a great 4th of July. Give me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this